All right, everyone, welcome back to our channel. Right now, we have a special video that we're going to make for you. By the way, I'm Carlos Charlie here at Reboot Robot with Shinke Day. How's it going, man?
Hey, what up, man? Not
What up?
much.
Good.
It is a very exciting. It's been a really eventful week,
Yes. Oh,
and
yes, you're right.
yeah, so it's been a pretty chill, pretty positive day today. So yeah, good news, good content for today.
Good news, good vibes, and also it's a good time to be a gamer right now because, as we know, I mean, today's date is November 7th. We're just like a few days away for the PlayStation, or actually Xbox Series X, and also for the PlayStation 5 to be coming out next week. So we're super excited. So we figured, we should it's time to make a video that we usually do towards the end of the year, like our best top 10, top 10 of the year. But this time we're going to do our top 10 game of this generation. Not of this year, of this generation. The past what? The past 8 years, right? Or was it 8, almost 10?
It was almost it was almost 8 years,
8 years.
seven years and a half.
So for my list, I mean, I know I'm gonna forget some games. I mean, the games that are on my list are pretty much like not off the cuff, but like the games that I truly remembered off the top of my mind. But I know that I'm gonna miss a few games there because having a top 10 through a span of 7 or 8 years, it's pretty tough, don't you think?
Yeah, probably there's a lot of things that I left out on my list.
Yeah, exactly.
And things that I and not because I forgot, but because it is impossible. I mean,
Hmm.
probably I played and I beat around 200 to 300 games during the
Yeah,
past 3 years. I mean, 7 years.
yeah.
So it is impossible. It is impossible. So what I selected, although my list is see once we get to it, there's
Hmm.
some things that there are some things curveballs that I'm throwing there. I left a lot of things that I really loved
Right.
out.
Uh-huh.
But what I chose, what my baseline for my list are things that changed the landscape of gaming
Hmm.
during the past 7 years, and that shaped pretty much what we're going to see the upcoming years, and things that some of them, for example, are crossover with my top 10 end of the year.
Right.
There are some on my game of the year games that I did not list.
Right.
Um, so it is a weird list. You'll see once we get to it, because there are some things that are completely out of left field, but these are things that games that personally I think are representative of this generation, on my experience.
Exactly. And plus, you were more on the PC side also this year. When I mean PC side, I mean you were PC gaming a lot this year. So I'm guessing a lot of these games are on, on PC that are not on the consoles. Probably, I'm guessing. Or
Actually,
we'll just
only
have to see.
Actually, only one. Actually, there's only one PC game that's PC game exclusive,
Mm,
and my list is gonna be very biased. Just one
mm,
thing though. This is, I don't know how you managed it,
mm.
but I did not include any Nintendo games, because in my opinion they have not finished the generation yet.
Hmm.
I think they actually started with the Switch. I think that the Switch is technically a next gen console.
Hmm.
So Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and whatever, those games are not, in my opinion, they are not like old gen games. They are like next games.
Yeah. No, for me, they're my honorable mentions before I hit my number one. So that's I mean that's just as good. So there's honorable mentions.
All right.
But um, but
Okay.
but just remember my list. I mean, these are my top 10, and I don't necessarily say that my number one is better than all the other games. It's pretty much my 10 favorite games. You know what I'm saying? That's for me because it's kind of hard to to make this list and say, oh, this
It
game is
is
better than
impossible.
that. It's impossible. It is. So I mean, this is the best that I've done. I'm not saying that this game is like pretty much etched in. These games are etched in stone. Like these are the best games, and because I say so. No, these are just personally my 10 games that have great fun with, and like you said, probably changed the landscape of gaming. And I think they were just I had a blast with them. So with on that note, should we start?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go.
All right. We'll start with me. Okay, we'll start with number 10. Now, my number 10 game is it's actually a kind of a collection of games, but mine is actually Halo: The Master Chief Collection, dude.
All right.
That's
Okay.
yeah, yeah, dude. I love Halo, and the Master Chief Collection came out in this generation. Or it came out on Xbox One. They had a whole, how you say it, the
Mhm.
whole special box for it and everything. So that's one of them. I have to say because I just love playing those games again, and those games were actually. I mean, I know they're from another generation, but they're kind of remastered and they have all these little updates. So that's my number 10, Halo Master Chief Collection. I can never that never gets old for me. So that's for me.
Yeah, and for example, what I can add about that just really quick
Yeah,
is
yeah, go ahead.
with the Master Chief Collection, that was the first time that I ever played a Halo campaign.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's true.
so
That's true. I remember you said that. You're like, dude, I'm gonna get into this, and you played it. I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's why I'm probably the only person on Earth who doesn't really hate Halo 5. It is not on my list. Halo 5 is not on my list.
No, but
I don't really
yeah,
hate that game, but I
yeah, yeah,
don't really consider like because like I'm a new fan of the series, so I have
yeah.
no that high expectations.
Right.
But at least the first three, the original trilogy, just blew me away, man. It
Oh
was
man, it's just so epic, dude. It's just a lot of emotions and memories, and just the fact that they brought it back into a collection. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
So that's definitely that's my number 10. And now number 9. Now this game I do love a lot cuz it's challenging, it's scary, it's like survival horror mixed in with Soulsborne, and it's Bloodborne. I know it's number 9. I mean, people love this game. It should be number up at number 1. But like I said, this is my top 10, and whatever numerization it is, don't take that into consideration. But Bloodborne, I do love this game. I love the challenge, the story. It's very how do you say it? I always forget the very Lovecraftian, let's say. I mean, and
Yeah.
like we talked about earlier, like in the beginning, it's all like werewolves and kind of like vampires, zombies, enemies. But towards the end, you get into these godly like enemies. You know what I'm saying? Like
Uh-huh.
like essential being enemies, and you're like, how the hell am I supposed to beat this thing and slaughter it? And just the level layouts, the story is just so freaking out there. It's awesome. It has everything I needed, and plus it's challenging and it's Soulsborne, which I love that type of content of game. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's definitely that had to be top on my list for this generation.
Yeah, that's a very beloved game.
Yeah, it is, dude. And plus, I can't. I hope they do a 60 frames per second once the PS5 comes out. I mean, the fans have been. I mean, they've been crying out for it. They've been making mods, which are almost reached to perfection of 60 frames per second. But still, we haven't heard of anything.
It is a lot of work, so I don't
Yeah.
know if they will, but if they do, it won't be soon. It might take a little bit.
Right.
Because there's a lot of technical hurdles they gotta clear. In fact, they need to have access to the source code, so FromSoft has to do it, and I doubt they will, unless Sony buys them. I mean,
Ooh, that's true, huh? Why wouldn't they? I mean, they got like the Demon Souls up and running. Why don't they just buy them and make it their own thing? But I don't know.
yeah.
That's a good idea. That I hope they do. So, very beloved, awesome game. And my number eight is one of actually the most beloved RPGs that came out. Actually, came out I think twice of the same story, and that's Persona 5. Royale, I have not played it yet. I have it. It's in a special edition box. I haven't opened it because it came the time around I was moving, and when I moved, I was like, you know what? I won't open it. I'll keep it in the box. And from then on, I never opened the Royale one. But Persona 5 was really awesome for me because I mean, just the fact that it's like a how do you say it like a everyday simulator, and plus I mean it has the RPG mechanics. It's so awesome. I mean, I don't need to explain, especially you, because I know you're a Persona fan, and I know this is what on your list. It just has to be. So I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong.
It is not. No, I
Yeah,
left it out, man.
I left it out. Oh, I bet that hurt, huh? I
That that
know you
would
love
that would be
Persona
that would
5,
be
dude.
that would be very cliche for me. So I wanted
Okay.
to throw a curveball there.
But I loved it, and plus, how this game is just so freaking awesome. The fact is, you could get a job, have friends, relationships, and then at night you're like a freaking you're battling demons and all kinds of stuff. I find it really cool and really awesome. So Persona 5 definitely made my list. So
All
yeah, but
right.
that would have been cliche though. With that would have been
Yeah,
on
that would be very
there.
predictable. That would be
Yeah.
very predictable. So I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna put it on my list.
So, but Royale, I bet I would have put that on here. But since I played Persona 5 and I haven't got a chance to play Royale, I bet that would have topped this eighth one. So So on that, let's see. Oh, were you gonna say something?
No, 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 no. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Uh,
I don't want to take your spotlight. Go
no,
for it.
no, no problem. Number seven has to be God of War, the latest God of War. I mean, that one was just the fact that they brought. I mean, they brought Kratos back, and wasn't Corey? Was it Barlog? I mean, or
Uh huh.
Balrog. I always forget because of the Street Fighter character. Anyways, but the story is so epic. The way they brought Kratos back, I thought it was so awesome. And plus, going against these new gods, these kind of Nord gods, and putting them in a whole new world, it's just so awesome. And plus, that one scene where he has what's it called? The Blades of Chaos. What's it called? Blades of Chaos, right?
Yeah, the Blaze of Chaos.
Yeah, when you brought that back, man, I'm like, oh, still nostalgic because I'm a huge God of War fan. I played all the God of Wars, and it was so cool the manner how he brought him back and set him in, and throw him in another course of obstacles through like the Nord mythology. Awesome, very awesome. I love God of War. Can't wait for the next one.
It is going to be very awesome.
Oh, jeez,
Yeah,
dude.
and it might actually come sooner than we think. The next God of War.
Right, right, and I mean, and plus,
Yes.
I love the devs. The devs seem like super cool, super awesome. I mean, I'm always following them on Twitter too. So that was my number seven. Now my number six has to be I'm gonna say as I guess one franchise. I don't know. It's Doom Eternal. I think that's one of the most awesome first person shooters of this generation, and I've had great fun with it. Super challenging, especially depending on what hard mode you have. Even from Nightmare and up, it's super challenging. I love the way you have to actually, depending on the level layout, you have to choose a pattern on what to do. Either cut your enemies, get ammo, or slap them silly and get life, and just go through this pattern until you beat that level, that section. I think it's truly awesome. It's gory as hell, which is a big plus. And also, I mean, even the DLC, the story is crazy. The storyline that's going through. So, and I think this is like the first time Doom had a cool story. You know what I'm saying? Because the other Dooms were like pretty much, you got to survive through a hellish Mars or whatever and back to Earth. The story wasn't even there. Didn't need to be. It was just, pretty much shoot 'em up, survive or whatever. So I do like this Doom and Doom Eternal. So that's my six, I guess. Let's see. And now my number five. Now this number five is I've played this game so many times. I mean, it's like I've started this game so many times too. And no, it's not Skyrim because it's not of this generation. You know what I'm
That
saying?
doesn't count. That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. Even though I have Skyrim on every type of medium available. Anyways, this number five game is The Witcher 3. I think this game is so freaking epic, dude. I mean, we've talked about this game before it came out. This was like our cyberpunk of that time when before it came out because there's so much
Yeah.
talk about it, and plus it's made by the same devs, obviously, and just the DLC alone is like its own game, and plus they're giving out like free DLC. I just love the way the developers carried this game. And also, I mean, it's the story, the politics in the game, how huge the game is, the stuff you could do, the beauty of the world. And remember how like you would just get lost by just going on your horse and hearing the wind go through the trees, and it was beautiful, dude. And I can't wait till they get that update, that 4K update or whatever for the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. Oh man, I think it's gonna look gorgeous. Even though it looks gorgeous as it is, but yeah, so that's pretty much that's pretty much me for Witcher 3. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a really great choice. I think there is no game of the generation list that cannot that can leave that game out. That's
Yeah,
all. That's all I can say.
exactly, dude. So good. That's good. So that's my number five. Now my number four. Now this game pretty much supposedly they said close this generation, and that's Ghost of Tsushima. This game is awesome. It's gorgeous. I love the gameplay on it. The fact is, it brought me back to that one other ninja assassin game, which is my cat's actually.
Tenchu?
Yeah, Tenchu. It brought me back to Tenchu, which came on the PlayStation 1, the original PlayStation, and I love that game to death. It reminded me a lot of that. And also, the story was actually kind of cool. The fact of, how you're a samurai and you have all this honor, and then the character was not static. The character actually transformed throughout the story to something totally different in order to save his people and his land. So, and plus, like I said, the gameplay was just awesome, dude. If you had the timing and the gameplay down, you're like unstoppable. Blocking, dodging, jumping, shooting, anything, dude. Then the game was even gorgeous. And I think I took most of the time creating videos or taking screenshots. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, just the fact of how beautiful the game is and how great it ran. I don't know. I loved it. So that's why it hit my number four. So I don't know. I mean, you know what? I'm going to play it again on the PlayStation 5, actually.
Yeah, like you know what? I crave it again. I got actually, um, since I got the digital edition, so I won't be able to play games right away. I will probably just play it while I download Demon Souls.
Right? Yeah, dude.
Yep,
It's just plus it's at 60 frames per second, right, on the PlayStation 5. 60 performance
60
mode or
frames
something.
per second.
Yeah, dude. And plus, I mean, with the high frame rate, I mean, I'm guessing the timing will be better, right? I mean, the way you have to
Ooh.
block or
The
parry.
ga- the game will be a piece of cake, man. On 60 frames per
Exactly.
second.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, dude. So that game was awesome, very cool. So that made my number four. Now, number three. Now, my number three game has to go to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, that game is just I'm in love with the old game, and the way they came out with the Seven Remake, I think was so awesome. And the fact is, with the characters that they had in there, it just brought me back to my memories of the old game. And plus, also what captivated me about this, not only the gameplay, the way you attack and strategize, which I was like getting incredibly good at, just the fact that where this game is going now, because I mean, we talked about this before. I'm not going to go too deep into this, otherwise we're going to go to a rabbit hole of what's going to happen. But I remember you gave a very good pointers on like how this is pretty much a setup to a whole new path of Final Fantasy VII. So it's going to be
Yep.
something totally different. We're talking about like little kind of like multiverse type of deal, which I'm so in for because I mean these characters when I played it, I felt like they were pretty much my companions. I dumped over like 120 hours in the original game. I loved every moment of it. So if they're gonna actually take different paths and amplify it and make the story different, but then again, the same with the same culture of the game, the same world of the game, dude, I'm all for it, man. That's so exciting. I can't wait for part two. Well, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part Two, I guess you could say.
Is well, I think it will make Seven Remake will make my 10 top 10 game of the year list, but
Hmm.
it just barely made it out of the games of the generation. I think that game will be better once we have the other pieces.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the more that I reflected about it, there are more flaws that I find that personally I don't hate. I know there is actually a huge community of people who just despise the game for
hmm,
some of the changes they made. I personally don't hate it, although I do agree to all the criticism they levy to the game. The thing is, to me, it was like the way the game is presented, the acting, especially the combat, how fun the game is. It is.
yeah,
It holds up very well for me,
yeah.
but I do think it will be much better once we have the whole pieces. I think it is still missing the next step. But yeah, it is. I can tell you, it is inside of my game of the year list. But
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't take it as far as game of the generation yet.
yeah, I love it, dude. And like you said, like maybe when they have like the whole collection edition, when it's all five in one game, maybe you could say more about it, because then you could talk about, the story or maybe the changes of gameplay. I don't know, because supposedly they're gonna come with an update, like this year or next year, right? Or something like they're gonna put more story or some more background story or something like that. I don't know.
The only
I
thing that
just
I hope is they patch in the 60 frames per second mode and high fidelity textures. That's all I really
Ooh,
want.
yeah. Well, I mean, the game looks beautiful already, even the combat and all that. But with that, man, I think it'll blow me away. So that'll be very
Yeah.
cool. I can't wait for that. So that was my number three. Now my number two, man. Now this game, I loved it. and I hated it. And we actually we did a video on this game. This game tested my wits, my patience, and my age. I guess I'm talking about Sekiro, which got Game of the Year last year, I think. But the reason why I love this game is because it's very simple and very complicated at the same time. What I mean simple is that you go through the game with a handful of weapons, mostly that the sword that you have, and you need timing, patience. I mean, everything, all the above. And this game, it got to the point that, like, I think we talked about this before. I'm like, shoot. I mean, I'm losing a lot at this certain part. It's like, am I good enough, or am I getting too old for these type of games? This game had kind of tested out my, I don't want to say my manhood, but tested out like, man, is this like for a certain age of people, whatnot? So I pretty much, man, I pushed through and I beat the hell out of this game. I even beat one of the hardest side bosses, which was the monk in flames, and my God, he was difficult. But once you beat that guy, or once you beat any boss, even what's it called, the master, your owl, what's it called, the owl, I think, owl master. Well, anyways,
The old master.
yeah, my goodness, man. Once you beat him, you feel like a badass. And I remember I used to record. I used to record the battles that I have. When you're actually focused in battle, you don't notice like what like how the aesthetics on how cool it looks like when you're battling. When you're battling, you're in the moment, so you're just thinking about block block pattern pattern block block hit block block pattern pattern hit. You're not looking at the aesthetics. But once you record it and once you look at it, but you're looking at it relaxed, not touching the controller, the fucking battle looks badass, dude. Like you ching ching ching, you see the sparks and everything, the hit, the roll. It looks epic, dude. I mean, because I just actually I went back and I saw a video when I was fighting. You're like in a watchtower and you're fighting. I think it was the Emperor's son, or I don't know. I forgot the guy's name, but he's the one who shoots lightning at you, and then you have to
Yeah.
jump in the air. I was looking at that past video, and I'm like, my God, this game looks awesome. Like I did all that. I was like, oh my God, how did I do that? It looked epic, dude. Like a freaking movie, like an anime, Japanese anime type of battling, back and forth, this and that. So that game is really awesome, man. And yeah, so that made my number two list. That gave me a lot of memories and experiences of all kinds. So yeah.
It, it is the most satisfying game I think that I played, but I hate it too
Right?
because yeah,
Oh
because it gave me cramps and arthritis and stuff like that.
God.
It does. It is a game that it has an actual like a hard cap on gamer skill.
Jesus,
I
dude.
think it is a game that some people will never be able to beat it. Doesn't matter like how much time you put into it. I think it
Unless
does have a hard cap, and that's the main reason why I won't say well I hate it, but I do agree pretty much with everything that you said. It is and it's there in our video actually. I mentioned it. It is one. It's probably the best game that FromSoft has made,
yeah.
but it is a tough bitch, and
My
yeah,
God.
I would
Unless
I wouldn't play it again. I haven't played it again.
I know. And you said someone platinumed that game. I was like, no. Because for a second, when you said the person who platinumed it, I'm like, shit, should I go back? I'm like, oh, hell no, dude. That's like, no. I don't have the time or the patience, dude. I'm already stressed out as it is. And,
Yeah.
well, I mean, what if they bring it out on the PlayStation 5 with the mini videos, with the help video system?
Actually, this is interesting.
Mhm.
I have been cold enough to buy them to rebuy it on PC,
Oh, cool.
but they are coming out. They are coming out on PS5 through backwards compatibility. It runs at 60 frames per second.
Hmm.
So I want to try it out on PS5 just to see
Oh,
how
yeah,
much
that's
of a
right.
difference it makes.
You're right. I seen a lot of YouTube videos, even what's it called, Digital Foundry, making like back to back specs and all that, and they're saying that there is a huge difference, or a very notable difference in the frames and all that.
And that game can I can think it will I think it will benefit from the 60 frames per second mode,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just want to try it out. But yeah, it's not. It's a game that I can actually call people. I can actually recommend people not to play it because it does have a physical cap.
Jeez, dude. But I mean, it's epic in its own proportions. But yes, so
It is.
that's my
It
number
is.
two game. Now, my number one game. I'm gonna put a drum roll. Now, before I say my number one game, I have to say that this icon was one of my favorite icons when I was a kid. I mean, I've had all the toys, comics, all that. Now, when I say icon, because when I say superhero, you guys are gonna know exactly what it is. And this is actually the first and only game that I platinumed for a reason, because I thought the game was so awesome. The experience was so unique. And I have to say, it's Spider Man. That's my number one game, dude. I loved Spider Man. I loved every minute of it, dude. And that's one of the reasons why actually I was going towards platinum it. Plus, it wasn't that hard to platinum either. So, so that was pretty cool. But one of the biggest reasons I love this game because I mean Spider-Man was one of my favorite, like I was saying before, one of my favorite superheroes when I was a kid. He's one of my favorites now. It sounds very cliche because Spider-Man is everywhere, but I loved him when I was a little kid. I played all the Spider-Man games. They were okay. I mean, I think Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 2, right? That was actually pretty good.
That was pretty good. That
That
was pretty good. I think
yeah. Go ahead.
I think it's the second best
Yeah,
after this.
yeah, definitely. I loved it. And then the ones that they came out with kind of got, they kind of lost their way. It was very mediocre. So
Mhm.
when this game came out, man, when I played it, when I got my hands on it, I loved it. It's like its own universe, and the story was epic, dude. And plus, I mean, just even the gameplay, everything else. I mean, it's just you felt like you were Spider-Man, just like how Batman was with Arkham. This is the Spider-Man of Arkham, I guess you could say, because I mean Batman Arkham is one of the best Batmans that I've played. Right, you felt like you're Batman, but with this one, I felt like I was Spider-Man. So I think that's awesome. First game I platinum, I love it, and yeah, and I can't wait for Miles Morales. That's gonna be one of my first buys on the PlayStation 5 too.
It is pretty poetic actually that you're closing your list with Spider-Man and pretty much Miles Morales is. You'll be playing Miles Morales in just like 5 6 days from now.
Right, yeah, dude, exactly. So yeah, you're right. It is poetic. You know what? I have some honorable mentions that I should have done before the one, but my honorable mentions were pretty much Monster Hunter World because I dumped hours in that game, and plus I played it with you guys, and that's so much fun playing it with friends. It was funny watching one of you guys getting hit by that horned beast up in the air while we're laughing at you. Yeah, you gotta admit, dude, Monster Hunter World was really fun. I had some really good experience with that. So that was my honorable mentions was Monster Hunter World, and also Hellblade because Hellblade was one of my game of the years, and I love Hellblade, dude. Just the fact that how deep the game was, how scary the game was, how scary to be, to be in that world or in your own mind, So Hellblade was definitely, one of my honorable mentions. So that pretty much sums it up.
That's a pretty good list in my opinion. There is going to be a lot of overlap between your list and mine.
Yeah,
At
of
least
course.
four games,
Yeah, of course, of
four
course.
5 games will overlap.
Hmm.
But I think this pretty much speaks of the quality of the games that we played and pretty much the experiences that we shaped up on our generation.
Yeah,
It was a very interesting generation
yeah.
because it does feel as if it's gonna sound stupid, but it feels like it is the medium point between the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 5. But let me explain. Let me explain. Of course, I said it was gonna sound stupid, but
Yeah.
let me explain what I mean. I mean that it feels like the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, that generation, left a huge gap
Uh-huh.
because it was so long. There was no technology advancements and whatnot. The PS3 and the Xbox One, they started underpowered and outdated pretty much since day one.
Yeah.
So developers had to play a lot of catch up. They had to make do with a lot of limitations that brought up a lot of innovation.
Hmm.
I came back to play some PlayStation 3 games on the past few days,
Yeah.
and you can notice a lot of the difference. The
Oh
different
God.
even games made by the same people, they feel very different.
Yeah.
It is not, but in subtle ways that make pretty much this generation to me. It was the polishing of the medium. It was definitely it was the generation when the medium game became mainstream. We went through a lot of shit, a lot of good stuff. We saw the launch of VR. We saw uh, a lot of cool things. Uh, the Also we saw some shitty practices, like for example the boom of microtransactions, games as a
Oh
service,
yeah.
and
Yeah. Definitely.
Gamergate and all that shit. Like it was a very interesting generation because
Yeah.
it is when we got off the shadows. We became mainstream now. Everybody has a Switch. Everybody has a PlayStation.
Yeah.
Everybody has uh, an Xbox, and
Oh my
everybody's
God.
like waiting for the next game and whatnot, and for the next console. So it is, but it doesn't feel like, for example, like, in my opinion, it doesn't feel like when we came from the PlayStation 2 to the PlayStation 3, or from the Super Nintendo to the PlayStation or the N64, that you saw like these huge leaps. It seems like it was like these 7 years when we just made a bridge uh, to gap in between 360, PlayStation 3 to Xbox Series X and PS5.
Right.
So that's what I mean. That's what I mean is the middle point. I'm not just saying what's logical. I'm not just stating the obvious.
Yeah.
All right. So for my list, I already mentioned that I didn't include any Switch games because um, I do not think the Switch is an eighth gen console. It's a ninth gen console. Um, I did not include remasters. That's something that remakes. I also did not include remakes. That's interesting because this was the generation of the remakes. So I did not include remakes or remasters as part of the core list. And something very important is I could have made like a top 50 games of the generation
Oh yeah.
easily.
Oh yeah.
It's actually my honorable mentions is way beefier. It's actually probably like even more games than my top 10. But with that, okay, my number. Let's start with my number 10. This is the very first game that comes out of left field, and it's controversial, and you'll know why as soon as I say what game it is. It is PT. That's my number 10.
PT. Okay.
Why is it controversial? Because I am pretty sure that many of you will not consider this even a game, because it is like more like not even a demo. It is just, as the name implies, a playable teaser. But the thing is, in my opinion, it is the most important horror game that was launched in the past, probably since Resident Evil 4. And Resident Evil 4 was not even was not even a horror game, in my opinion. It was more of an action game.
Right.
But PT was so important, so influential into horror game that not only started the career, or not only started at Kojima Productions and all that shit with Konami and all that, but a lot of games, we saw this trend of horror games becoming like Amnesia clones and walking simulators.
Yeah.
And PT took that on the hands of like a genius and a capable designer, polished it, and then it changed the whole face of the horror games. For example, last week we were playing Visage, and that game is completely inspired by PT.
Oh yeah. Huge.
And you can attest better than anyone else like how fucking creepy that game is.
And plus, that's the closest thing we have to Silent Hill, like a new Silent Hill.
Exactly.
It is Silent Hill.
It is Silent Hill. In my opinion, it is open and honest and Silent Hill game.
Exactly.
So it is the only Silent Hill we had in the past ever.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And a good one. And it's a game that is creepy. Sadly, it is a game that eventually it will be lost
Forever.
in the ether.
Yep.
Because of Konami, because they fucking suck. And they cannot let people have nice things. But yeah, to me it is one of the most important horror game of the generation period.
Nice. Cool.
Okay, the next game. This is the representation of one of the biggest trends, and one of my favorite trends of the whole generation is this is kind of actually, I kind of feel bad of including this game because I could not say it is technically an 8th gen game. But anyways, I just put it in. It's Half-Life ALYX.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works.
This comes in representation of the VR front. VR is I'm a huge fan of VR. VR is it is. I actually went through a rough year because of some things that happened, COVID and all that. It's affected this year for VR, but it's strong. And well, Half-Life ALYX uh, stating or making a statement for VR. It is the best game on VR, period, bar none. It is an incredible game. It has a huge level of interactivity. It is really fun. It has the hallmark atmosphere of Half-Life. It has incredible levels of polish. This is Valve at their best, and that's not a light statement. We all know what Valve is. They are legendary game makers.
Yep.
And this is like Valve at full cylinders, like shooting from all cylinders. And speaking of Half-Life as Half-Life, it is an incredible entry into the series. I know you haven't played the game. Probably you will play it, so I don't want to go further into the story, because I don't want to spoil it. There are huge surprises, especially the ending is a tearjerker. But it is legit a Half-Life game. It feels like, it doesn't feel like a soft reboot or like a game that they just threw a Half-Life name into it. It is an awesome point of entry for Half-Life 3.
Nice.
And yeah, it is the only game that you need to play on VR. Period.
Oh, for sure, I will.
So that is my number 9, and then my number 8, and this is number 8. This is another weird entry, and but this is one of those games that actually the next 4 entries are weird. But this one is probably one that won't make sense. But I actually already mentioned it in a previous post on Twitch and Twitter, and I kind of have to defend it. And it is Prey, Arcane Studios Prey.
Oh yeah, Prey. Okay.
Okay. It is a game. It was buried.
Yeah.
Under everything else that was released on that year, and many people actually did not take it seriously because first it has some flaws. For example, my biggest gripe with that game is the enemy design is not like that exciting. But the game itself, it is the best immersive sim that has come out since BioShock, since the original BioShock.
Yeah.
And someone who is a fan of System Shock 1 and 2 and BioShock, Prey is the only natural the sequel that System Shock has not had yet, because we will have System Shock 3 eventually coming out, but Prey is pretty much the next entry into System Shock that we have not had yet. Plus, it's made by Arcane Studios, a studio that is not been. It is starting to gain more traction and more recognition in the industry. They are the pupils of Looking Glass Studios, Warren Spector. Irrational Games. These guys are one of the trifecta of the best immersive sim makers, and this game is their best game. And I'm putting it even above Dishonored, which is Dishonored 1 and 2, which also are some of my favorite games of this gen. And some people even say Dishonored 2 is one of the best games ever, and I do agree. But I think Prey was even better. It's a game that you play, you finish the first time. The first time it might not resonate that much, but the more that you start thinking about it, and if you go and play games like System Shock, for example, which is exactly what happened to me, then everything starts making sense. You play it again, and then just blows you away. So it is a game that made me fan of Arcane Studios. It wasn't Dishonored. Then after Prey, I have gone and played some of their backlog games. I went back to play Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, and
oh geez, yeah, I remember that one.
And I got a few more games there to play. So yeah, that's my number 8.
Nice.
Okay, my number 7, and again, this is another one that is out of left field, but last year it was on my top 10 games of the year, and I talked a lot about it. And this is a game that I love, and the more that I talk about it, and the more that I think about it, I love it more. It is Disco Elysium.
Oh yeah.
This is a classic CRPG, computer RPG, made by a little studio in, I think, Armenia and UK, just by a few people.
Yeah.
It's an incredible experience. It is an incredible experience. It is an exploration on humanity, an exploration on people. I said probably a little hyperbolic that the game plays you more than you play it,
Yeah.
um, because it predicts the game. It is not you about. It's not that you make decisions, but the game makes you or like kind of like plots you into the decisions that you're gonna take, and every time it accurately uh, walks you through how you would things or things through things in real life. Um, it has a beautiful art style. It has a beautiful music. Is what has one of the most beautiful soundtracks that I've listened in the past few years. It is a game that that everybody that plays it for the first time, it looks very indie, looks very cheaply made. Although it is really beautiful to look at, but it looks like one of those indie games. So people kind of like don't pay much attention to it, but once you start playing it, it takes all of 5 minutes for you to start like to fall in love
Right.
with it.
Okay.
It is an excellent game. It is coming out in consoles soon. It's coming out on Switch, which is perfect for the
Nice.
Switch.
Okay.
So if you don't have a computer to play it, as soon as it's out on Switch, buy it.
Damn.
I guarantee you're gonna love it. And it's a very because it is not it is not like a gameplay RPG.
Yeah.
And it's extremely complicated. It has a lot of RPG systems,
Sure.
but it doesn't have combat, and yeah, the exploration is not limited, but it's very minimalistic. It's a lot of reading, a lot of reading. It feels more like you're playing one of your choose your own adventure books than actually playing a video game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but again, I love it, and if you get to play it, you'll understand why. It is a fantastic game.
Sounds awesome, man.
Okay, this one for my number 6. This one is a little bit also of a curveball, but not much. Especially people that know me, especially you'll understand entirely why I chose this game. Nier Automata
Oh, of course.
is my number 6. Nier Automata is actually many of the things that I just mentioned about Disco Elysium apply to Nier Automata. The only difference is that Nier Automata is a fun game. It is Platinum Games at their best. Again, even similar to Arcane and Prey, I did not like Platinum Games before until I played Nier. And I kind of like made peace with their style of making games.
Right.
And again, it's a very humanistic story. It is beautifully written. It is heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking game that has memorable characters, and not for the reasons that you think. They are very very well written characters, very mysterious, very thoughtful and deep story, very deep lore. I just recently went back to play Drakengard 3, which is kind of a prequelish to this game. And you come to appreciate Yoko Taro and the way that he makes games.
Right.
And even in my opinion, this was the best game that Square Enix published the entire generation. So pretty much is a representation for Square Enix on my list,
Yeah.
which is my favorite game publisher. So that says a lot. And yeah, it is a great game. Has one of the best, if not the best, OST of the past 10 years.
Oh, I agree.
And it's awesome. Just playing it is awesome. It has very deep, fast-paced combat. It has a lot of a different type of gameplay. It never gets boring. It is a game that tricks you because you finish it in like 5 hours, and then you think that you're done, but actually that's not even the intro. That's pretty much like the tutorial. Then you have to play the game like 4 or 5 more times, which is actually one playthrough. You might think that it's just retreading and backtracking, but it's just one playthrough is finishing the game 5 times. And once you get to the end, the game just emotionally destroys you, emotionally makes you think, makes you meditate and consider some things about your own personality. So
Right.
fantastic game again.
Nice.
All right, and the next game. This was a tougher decision, not because of the game itself, but because of the series it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like this actually was the toughest pick for me on the entire list because I had to choose between an entire catalog of awesome games and okay, my number 5 is Judgment.
Mm.
Uh, Okay, why did I just choose Judgment? First, for the uninitiated, Judgment is a spin-off, or well, yeah, we can call it a spin-off of the Ryuga Gotoku or Yakuza series, as known here in the West. Um, it is Yakuza is one of my favorite series this generation.
Hmm.
Actually, just 2 weeks ago, I finished the entire series
Right.
from 1 to 6.
Yeah.
No, not. I didn't play 1 through 6 on one set.
Oh.
I've been playing for the past 4 years.
Oh, I see.
So so I finished my playthrough of 6, and it's an awesome series.
Oh yeah.
In Judgment, of everything that has been released so far, Judgment is the best. Period. It has it has the best characters. It has the best story. And yeah, I'm saying the protagonist, Takayuki Yagami, is better than Kazuma Kiryu, and I don't retract my words. You can come at me if you want. And Kazuma is like one of the most iconic protagonists on gaming ever. And Tak is a badass. He's a very very well written character, a very lovable character. The gameplay is faster, and it doesn't, it feels, when you play it, you know that you are playing a Ryuga game, but it doesn't feel like you're playing like Yakuza 6 or like a Yakuza side game. It feels very unique, very fresh. The tone of the game is different. The story is also heart wrenching, a lot of drama. Everybody who knows Yakuza knows the drama on those games, like how there are tear jerkers, but also it is lighter. It is less nihilistic than Yakuza. That's why I personally think the story is better, because the Yakuza games are very nihilistic, even though they are silly and most of the times, and they are dumb, and they have like a lot of comedy and a lot of dumb things. They are very nihilistic and very pessimistic, and they have a very bleak outlook on life. But Judgment, even though it has a very bleak and very dark and creepy story, it is way more positive. It is less like nihilistic. It is a better proponent of the human condition and people.
Right.
And all right, so okay, now we are going to my number 4 pick. This is where things overlap a little bit.
Yeah.
And I had to put this on my list, as I mentioned it actually when you mentioned it.
Sure.
And it is The Witcher 3.
Ah, yeah. There you go.
The Witcher 3, it is. I cannot leave it out. It is the most important RPG of our generation. Period.
Yes.
It is the most important RPG of our generation. It is shaping. I won't say it did shape. I'm saying it is shaping as of today. It is shaping the face of our RPGs as we know them.
Yeah.
Even Japanese game creators or Japanese developers are moving forward to emulate The Witcher. There's a lot of games that try to do The Witcher. Nobody has reached that high bar yet.
Exactly.
I wouldn't call it a perfect game yet, because it has, especially because of the limitations of CD Projekt Red during that time, it has bugs and it has some issues. But everything that matters, the story, graphics, art, music, gameplay, is just
Epic.
the best. Period. It is the best.
Agree.
Period.
I definitely agree.
The story is rich. It's epic. It's just pretty much. It is as good as the story of the books. The Witcher has become a phenomenon, not only in gaming. A lot of people has picked up the books, the novels. We had the Netflix show, which is awesome.
Yep.
And a lot of the hype behind Cyberpunk that for timing reasons is outside of this list. I am pretty confident that game is gonna make my game of the generation list next generation. But it's shaping up, and much of the hype behind Cyberpunk is because of this game.
Yeah.
And again, we have, for example, Square Enix taking notes on The Witcher. The next Final Fantasy 16 is going to be a Final Fantasy Witcher. We had
so.
entire studios building their careers on The Witcher.
There you go.
So it is the most important RPG of our generation. Period. There's no more that I can say. Okay, and the next game. The next two games, for my number 3 and my number 2, I had a little bit of a debate, of an internal debate, because I had to put one above the other. Yeah, just because of my personal preferences, that's why I went with one above the other. But my number 3, it is God of War 2018.
Yeah, there we go.
It is. Because of my number 2, I wouldn't say is the best game of Sony Studios, of Sony first-party studios, but it pretty much embodies the philosophy of Sony during this generation. Mm-hmm. It is pretty much the Sony exclusive for excellence. It is the game that everybody who you ask on forums or Twitter or anywhere, like, what is your favorite PS4 game? Most likely they're gonna say God of War 2018. A lot of people are going to buy a PS5 because of God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
It is an awesome game. It is a badass game. A lot of people, including me, to a certain point, were scared of where the story were going, where the game was going, because they changed cameras, they took away the jump button, and they changed the combat, and they said it was going to be a more thoughtful, more like personalized story, and then they took the pantheon from Greek mythology to Nordic mythology, which, in my opinion, was the best change.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the game is just awesome. It's just the best studio that Sony made this generation, besides my number 2
there you go.
pick. It is an awesome game, and it is going to be part of the PS Plus collection. So if anyone hasn't played it and you're picking up a PS5, I highly recommend you to play it. It's going to have a 60 frames per second patch, which is going to also make the game badass.
Yeah.
I will need to re-download that just to try it out. But yeah, that's an awesome game, an instant classic of the PlayStation family, and building up on a series that was already legendary by the time it arrived in the PS4.
There you go.
Okay, so my number 2, and I do not regret having this above God of War, even though it is technically more limited, and it is Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Bloodborne was my 2016 Game of the Year, or 2015. Don't remember. But it was my Game of the Year, pretty much above any game. Actually, I think even above The Witcher, if I recall correctly. I don't remember now the time frames. But it is, in my opinion, it is the best Souls game. It is not my favorite. My favorite is Demon Souls, which we're going to play next week. We'll be playing this time next week.
Yeah.
We will be playing it again. It is my favorite. That's my favorite Souls-like. But Bloodborne. Yep. Actually, that will be our stream next week. Actually,
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Let's do it.
All right. Now you guys have a date for next week. All right. So okay, going back to Bloodborne. You pretty much mentioned everything that I can say. The story, the lore, the way they built up the story. Remember, we were talking about this actually last week or 2 weeks ago. That Bloodborne goes from like, it starts like universal monsters with like vampires and werewolves, and then it goes like the ranges, like goes off the rail with cosmic horror and Lovecraftian horror and shit like that. And the thing is, just like every FromSoft game, the story is very subtle, so it doesn't like, you have to play the game, you have to explore. More than half of the game is of half of the content, if not more than half of the content, is locked behind optional areas, and if you explore them, you can get a lot of the game. It is a game that is a lot of game. It has the best pace of any Souls-like.
Yeah.
It is definitely better than Dark Souls, in my opinion. It is definitely much better than Dark Souls 2, which is a garbage piece of garbage, and it's better than Dark Souls 3, but not because FromSoft was trying to compete with themselves, but they built something that is very special.
Oh yeah.
There is a reason why, as you mentioned, there is a reason why people are clamoring and they are like demanding or asking Sony, praying Sony that they patch it 60 frames per second. There is no day that I open Facebook and I don't see somebody asking for Bloodborne 2 or like making a rumor about Bloodborne 2 or anything like that. Because it is a very, very beloved game and in that community and outside the community.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
So yeah, I hope they do patch it. I hope they do patch it and they give us that stuff and make Bloodborne 2. And now, my number one. But before that, we go to my number one. I'm gonna give you my honorable mentions, which is a shitload. It's pretty much another 2 lists, but I won't describe any of them. I will just go really fast.
Yeah.
If not, we will be all night here. Okay. The Binding of Isaac is the game that I put the most time ever, and
I believe
throughout these past 10 years. Destiny, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Resident Evil 7. Forza Horizon 4. This is for the Xbox fans. Outer Wilds, no Outer Worlds. Outer Wilds, which is one of the best games that nobody has played. Period. Divinity Original Sin 2. This is a little bit of a cheat. All the Sony first party games. Period. Everything from Uncharted to Last of Us to Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man. Every Sony first party game. Tekken 7, Guilty Gear XR, Monster Hunter World, Doom Eternal, The Evil Within 2, and Wolfenstein: The New Order, among others that I won't mention. All right. Now my number one.
Drum roll.
Okay. As expected, my number one game of the generation is Persona 5.
I knew it. I thought you know what? I thought your list was gonna be my number 10 is FIFA 2018. My 9 FIFA 2017. All the FIFA going down. No, I'll play it.
Number 7 is going to be the microtransaction, the casino on NBA 2K1.
Right.
It's funny because in 2017 when we have our Game of the Year discussion, we actually made the same joke. You can go back and watch it. Yeah, it is obvious. It is obvious.
I knew it. I knew it.
It is my favorite game of the generation. It is one of my top 3 games ever made. Period. It is just right below Final Fantasy VI as my favorite game ever made. Some people actually, it is funny because right now people are they have become very antagonistic against this, against Persona, at least on my forums or the forums and places that I lurk on.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh yeah, well this is a teen game with kids on high schools and whatnot, but it's like it is a mature game for a reason.
Yeah.
It has an awesome story. It has an awesome cast of characters.
Oh man, for sure.
It has the best turn-based combat system of any video game JRPG ever. It is the best JRPG that has come out on the past since Final Fantasy X, easily.
Yeah.
Easily. It has awesome music. It has a lot of style. It is a game, I play that game between Royale and I don't put one above the other. Actually, Royale has a lot of content that I love.
Uh-huh.
It has probably my favorite two characters of the series that are not available on the base game. My only problem is that they made some changes that kind of bother me,
Mm.
and they're like, if I mention them, they will sound like a nitpick, but to me they're like very important changes. But besides that, I wouldn't put one above the other. They're just as awesome. If any of you have not played Persona 5, go with Royale. Actually, I recommend you to go with Royale and then play 5 vanilla instead of going the other way around.
There you
I
go.
have played that game about like 5 times. I finished it. I've already platinumed the Royale. I'm about to platinum 5. Everything on my room is just stylized on Persona. You see a lot of red, a lot of black on my room. I don't know. I don't know how better it has shaped the way that I make art. I personally make art. Uh, it has made me go and replay. I had already played Shin Megami Tensei games for a very long time. It's one of my favorite JRPG series, but I haven't played every Shin Megami Tensei game. After Persona 5, I have gone back and rectified that. I have played way more. I bought a 3DS just to be able to play SMT4 for Apocalypse and all the games there.
Right.
I got on the games on my Vita. It is a game that has changed a lot of how I play video games even for the past 7 years. It is not probably the most technologically advanced or the most next level game that you might think like probably like what Cyberpunk is going to be or what The Witcher is,
Right.
but it is the best that Japan has made on the past almost 20 years.
Oh man.
So yeah, it was obvious. It was obvious. I was not going to let it out. I was not going to let it out.
Nice, dude. So yeah, that's pretty much our each of our top 10 games of this generation, and we're so excited what's going to happen next week. I mean, it's such a great time to be a gamer, and like you said, our next video we're going to do some. We're probably going to actually do the controller and play some PS3 games with the PS5 controller, but we should do like an actual, a video of Demon Souls, do like a multiplayer Demon Souls thing. That'd be awesome, and also like how the system works and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's a fun thing. The fun thing that when you see us next time, you will be playing.
will be next gen.
Will be next gen. And the funny thing is, we will kick off next gen with one of our favorite PS3 games.
Very true. Something last gen. Very weird.
Yeah, and that's very exciting. It is
Yeah.
very exciting.
Yeah.
It is
Exactly.
it is actually just right now. Just today is hitting me that we are just like 6 days away from the PS5.
Yeah.
5 days, not even 6 days. Actually, 4 days by the time that you guys are listening to this. So yeah, it is going to be. I don't know what's going to be. It's a weird year. It's going to be a weird next year, but it is going to be awesome. At least it's going to start with a banger.
Yes. Yes, my friend. It's gonna be so awesome. And plus, we'll show more stuff on the Xbox Series X. I'm not gonna get that on launch day because they're gonna send it to me, so it'll be a few days away from launch day when I'll get it. But either way, we'll have both consoles. We'll show them. We'll show how great they are, how beautiful they are, and some gameplay. So, yeah, make sure you watch after that.
I will do the possible. I did not pre-order the Xbox Series X
Hmm.
because I have already mentioned my journey to get it,
Yeah, yeah.
so I won't go through that again. But I will do everything in my power to try to get it on day one. I
Hmm.
think they will have it on stores,
Okay.
so if they can have it in stores, I'll go and pick one on Thursday and Tuesday.
Uh huh.
So if that's so, I'm gonna show something probably just an unboxing. I am not you, so I don't unbox things.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I'll try to do a shitty ass unboxing and show you guys what's there, show you some gameplay and whatnot. But definitely on Thursday, tune in because we will
Yes. Yes, my
we'll
friend.
be kicking in with a PS5.
Yeah, we'll be posting stuff left and right. I'm gonna make a video of me picking up the thing too, so it's pretty exciting. But yeah, we'll be on social media. We'll be sending stuff out. So yeah, make sure you keep us on. Make sure you keep us
Yeah,
logged.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell because otherwise you will miss all the goodness this week.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
notifications. That's very true. So, on that note, well, thank you so much for watching. Live long, game on. Anything else, Shinke?
yeah. One last thing. Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Always, man. Boots on the ground. Don't ever forget that. All right, guys. Like, subscribe. Peace out.
Bye.